Welcome to Audio Gyan with Kedar Nimkar, a podcast that documents insightful conversations with Indian designers, artists, musicians, writers, thinkers and creatives of all types. Catch us on iTunes or visit audiogyan.com for more Gyan sessions. Here's your host Kedar Nimkar.
Today I have Nipun Dharmadhikari with us on Audio Gyan. Nipun is an actor, writer and director. He's one of the most talented and well-known faces of Marathi theatre and film industry. He's called the theatre revivalist by Forbes India. I guess most of the listeners must have seen and subscribed to the YouTube channel Bhadipa, but here we'll speak about it also and much more about his journey into theatre and explore Marathi theatre world of Pune. So thank you Nipun for giving us your time, and it's a real pleasure to have you on Audio Gyan.
Thank you Kedar for asking me to come and speak here.
Yeah. As I told, like our conversation will be mostly around what goes into the world of Pune theatre and what's happening there, and some insights into that, and probably at the later stage about Bhadipa and more things.
Okay.
Being the cultural capital of Maharashtra, can you give us some brief background about modern Pune theatre? I mean, what's happening? How does it work? Like, as far as my knowledge goes, at least in Mumbai, there's Prithvi, there's NCPA,
Correct.
there are Tamasha, like different places where theatre is happening. There's cultural activities happening. So can you just set some landscape or some background about Pune, what happens there?
I think like Mumbai, in Pune as well, the theatre activity starts from the college level. But unlike Mumbai, most of the theatre activity is in Marathi. In Mumbai, I have seen plays in Hindi and English as well. Gujarati also, of course. But in Pune, I think the number of people doing theatre in other languages is less. And those doing in Marathi is quite a lot. It starts at the college level. As I said before, there's this intercollegiate level called intercollegiate competition called Purushottam Karandak, like the one in Mumbai called INT. But of course, this is how my journey began. Other people must have had some other ways to get into theatre, but for me, it started with intercollegiate competitions. Ekankika, absolutely. आणि तिकडे अभिनेता म्हणून सुरू झालो. And all these colleges, they are in a way linked to these amateur theatre groups. So in a way when you graduate from college, it is also like graduating to these amateur theatre groups. Most of the people in amateur theatre groups have worked in these competitions. They are very closely connected to the performances that happen over there. They are very, they're very well updated about what is happening in the college life as well. So they come and watch these plays. If they like someone, some or the other activity is constantly happening. So people are cast, a few technicians are then inducted into the group, etc., etc. So having said this is how I started my journey. So
sorry to interrupt you, but is that those amateur theatres, are those more experimental or they venture into commercial as well?
See, now again, there are two types of groups that do this. I mean, somebody like Mohit Takalkar or his group, Asakta. So they are mainly into experimental theatre. So which hardly, or rather never, in a way, it is never picked up by a commercial theatre group or anything like that. But of course, that is not even their intention. They don't do the plays with those intentions. That is, I think, the most important thing. And there are a few, groups like Maharashtra Cultural Center, MCC, who run Sudarshan. They also have an activity at Jyotsna Bhole Sabhagruha. And the plays that they have produced, most of them have eventually, after a few months, been staged on the commercial scene. So they have been picked up by some or the other institute in Mumbai here, some or the other producer in Mumbai. And but I think it is, after all, the intention with which you do the play. And I'm not saying that because the plays eventually become a commercial plays, it is something like a corrupt intention. I'm not implying that at all. But But yeah, I think this is eventually the kind of content that you put out and how you present it eventually determines whether it will appeal to a wider audience, whether it will appeal to, for the lack of a better word, mass, and whether that will earn money for the person who's taking a risk. So,
but like, at least again in Bombay, like when you look at experimental theatre or some places where Thespo is happening and there are different competitions happening. Similarly, are these plays which are just at an amateur level well received? Do they have an audience there? I mean, is the audience evolved enough to understand that?
now the thing is that you have to build an audience, and how you build it. I'm right now, and I'm in Mumbai, so that I can discuss the release plan of my film. And throughout the journey, the only thought I have in mind is making something is one thing and selling it is another ball game.
Correct.
It is even probably difficult, much more difficult. And I'm occupied by only these thoughts right now. So it is similar to theatre. I mean, making a play is one thing, and reaching out to people with that play is another. I mean, there are many good plays which have just fizzled out because they didn't have a face in them, or they couldn't market themselves properly. And to be very honest, it is costly to market a play if we do it in the traditional way.
Correct.
But because of social media these days, and you just need to expand your reach, and you need to do that creatively as well. We were fortunate enough as Natak Company, our group, we are fortunate enough to have a group of people who are interested in only publicity, in only management of plays, and in promoting the plays, and they do a pretty good job of it, and they are very well versed with whatever is happening in social media. And the thing, they use pop culture very well. So if something like a Dub Smash is it was really famous like 2 years ago.
Correct.
So that was used to promote the play.
Okay.
So following the current trends, we have tried to promote our play, and so far it has worked. But at the same time, I don't want to forget the fact that we have been around for 10 years now, and in those 10 years we have tried to build our own audience and are, I would say, partially successful.
And what would be your not so famous venues in Pune where these kind of amateur plays happen?
I think the hub of all this hub of all this experimental activity is Sudarshan, and now it is Jyotsna Bhole Sabhagruha.
Okay.
So it is both these venues are run by Maharashtra Cultural Center. Only thing, I mean, we as a group haven't performed at Sudarshan and Jyotsna Bhole for quite some time now, because I really feel they have restricted space access, especially on the stage. I mean, it is a really small stage. It does not have a very good height. I mean, I am really grateful for the activity that they are promoting, but at the same time, infrastructure is a little bit of a problem.
Correct.
So, if at all I do put up a play which can be performed in a room, I will be more than happy to perform over there. But till now, I mean, most of my plays have had many people in it, have had bigger sets, and I think the plays demanded a bigger venue. So we have mostly we are yet to experiment with space per se, but we have performed at proscenium theatres. Okay. Where the usual commercial plays do happen. At the same time, though, I would like to point out that there is a school called Akshar Nandan. The school itself is amazing. I mean, the thought behind it, wherein a group of parents came forward and started a school because they felt that the kind of education that the kid receives in other schools is not what do you say, up to the global, culturally too, and not up to the global standards. The way kids are being taught in school, the way They are being trained to be in a rat race since the school. So that is how that school actually started, which is, I think, as a concept, extremely great. And they have been able to pull it off for quite a few years. And the school has given us many good artists. I mean, the ones that I know are Radhika Apte, Dharmakirti Sumant, Alok Rajwade in our field. And there have been many other students who have gone into architecture, into design, into various aspects of filmmaking. And I'm sure the usual, what we say. I mean, I don't want to degrade these occupations, but at the same time, what people usually do, like engineering or medicine. So it's an amazing school, and they have also supported our activity. So they have an interesting common area wherein we've tried and used it however we can. So it's not that we perform a play in a certain way.
They're just giving the space, so
we just play with the space in that common area. One play that Satish Adekar had written, Ek Divas Mathakade, which I had the opportunity to direct. So that we performed on the ground of that school. So I think we are trying to experiment with space, but I think we need to try a little more.
Correct. Yeah. So Nipun, in one of your, actually in a couple of your interviews I was reading online, you mentioned a lot of seniors passed out or moved out of college or other places where you're working. So you picked up directing much early. So can you tell us who these seniors were? What made them move out of? Was it Pune? Was it just outside the smaller network of theatre? What was the story like?
As I mentioned before, it started at the intercollegiate level. So I started directing in the intercollegiate level. So it was a play called Cycle that I directed, which was based on the story written by Venkatesh Madgulkar, a renowned writer in Marathi and a renowned story as well. So that was the first play that I directed. And that happened when I was 18 years old, when I was in first year of college, senior college. And for the previous 2 years, I had only enjoyed being a part of the group and not have any responsibilities and be a junior and be only an actor or just a team member helping out with backstage. So it was those years were fun. I could come and go as I pleased. Not really. I mean, I had to come and go as per my director's timings. But at the same time, as I said before, there was not much responsibility.
Correct.
I was not in charge of the entire group. But it was probably in my 12th standard that I realized that most of our seniors were in the last year. And especially those who were directing and writing and who were in charge of giving a direction to the entire group and not just the play. And that is when I realized that they were looking at me as the future person who would probably take the reins in my hands.
Sorry, I don't like to get into personal things, but what were the few traits which made those people realize you were?
I think it was mainly Ameya and me, and it was also because of the fact that we were genuinely interested in theatre. We were not doing that as I mean, of course, it was a hobby at that point of time. But we were actually giving it importance. We were actually giving it a lot of our time and our efforts, and we were sincerely doing it. And it was not doing intercollegiate plays was not the only thing that we were doing. So we were working with a lot of experimental groups in Pune in various capacities. So we were working with Sandesh Kulkarni, Shashank Shende, Kiran Yajnapovit, Mohit Takrkar, Maharashtra Cultural Center, as I mentioned before, Pradeep Vaidya, PDA, etc. So in a span of 2 years, we had gone all out, Ameya and me, and we had worked with anybody in whatever capacity. So they could probably see that we were hungry to work.
Correct.
And I guess that was the reason why they felt that we should be, we would rather go ahead and take responsibility. And also, to be very honest, between us and the guys who were passing out from college, I mean, there were 3 years. There was a group gap of 3 years, but nobody who were in the senior college were as attached to theatre as probably we were. They were doing the chartered accountancy, they were doing something else side by side, but they didn't want to take responsibility, and probably we did, which we hadn't understood at that time, which probably the seniors understood, that we wanted to take responsibility. And as they passed out, they told us that it is now your time, and it is you take over, and stop being a little stop being careless, and be more responsible. And Amay was he was very clear in his head that he wanted to be an actor. And I was still at a crossroads. I just enjoyed being there in that in the process, in that environment. And so by default I became a director. It was, in a way, it was not a choice, it was just something that I was pushed into. And but I really enjoyed my first play and the one after that, and many plays after that. There was the second play that I directed was called Lose Control, which also did very well. And at the experimental level, when it went on the commercial stage, it flopped like anything. So that was also an interesting learning experience. So that's how I was pushed into direction.
Cool. Interesting. Again, in one of your interviews also, this is slightly going deeper into that one topic, which is Sangeet Saunshaykallol. You reduced 67 songs to 16. So can you tell us what was the process in detail? Because this is my personal quest also, that how do you remove things done by such legendary people? Because whatever they add has a lot of value to it. It's not just for time pass or just to fill in some gaps, right? So taking out certain elements and then keeping the essence still intact.
Correct.
What was the challenge, the biggest challenge like?
Some parts of this answer might be crude, so I must apologize beforehand. But firstly, while editing anything, one has to be ruthless. If I take the pressure that this is a classic, and how will I even try and work it my way, then that will be some kind of pressure that I won't be able to work around. So I have to go through and through, and I have to be ruthless with that. That is the first thing. Secondly, when I read the play, there were many scenes which I felt were kind of repetitive, which were giving the same information again and again. And as you rightly said, I was also I couldn't understand why it was so. But why would the person, such a renowned writer, and it was not just the case with Saunshaykallol, it was the case with many of these Sangeet Nataks. And through that process, I went and met Makarand Sathe, because I wanted to understand at what was the social scenario at that point of time when these plays were written, social and political, the context.
Yeah.
And he was working on his
trilogy.
The trilogy, yes, at that time. And he was kind enough to let me read a few excerpts. It was not published at that time, but he had marked them out and he had kept it ready for me. And I had a few discussions with other people as well. And I think one thing was that we have to realize that the technological advancement at that time was, there were no mics, so probably and the play started late into the night, and as such, I'm not sure whether there was this theatre going culture per se, wherein a person would sit in the audience for the entire period of time. So, and I think this a point had to be made again and again. It for the people to understand is what I felt. So that could have been one reason why points were repeated in the play. And having said this, I would have had no issues in directing the entire play. But it is not possible now economically and logistically. Plus the audience is not ready for this at all. So I knew for a fact that I had a slot of 4 hours in my hand, in which I had to put up a set, I had to put up the sound system, I had to perform the play, and take out the set and all the other technical things and get out of there. So there was no option but to edit it. So I think the first thing that I did was I sat down with all these experts who and veterans, and I made a list of all the songs that had to be taken in the play. Because if you're doing a Sangeet Natak, you are of course telling a story.
Correct.
But you're also expecting people to come and listen to the songs.
Correct.
So I made a list of the songs which were just essential. They had to be there. And when I took that list and I read the scenes around those songs, I realized that the scenes themselves made a lot of sense in a flow. It was the entire play. So, of course, there were a few instances wherein I had to change the situation for the song because this song has to be included. There has to be something else. So, a little bit of tweaking here and there had to be done.
Correct.
But nothing which harmed the soul or essence of the play. I mean, there would hardly be anything that Nipun Dharmadhikari says as a writer in these plays. Of course, as a director, I have tried and tell the story in whatever way I wanted to tell it. But I haven't played with the crux of the play. So it tells the same story, and the characters say the same dialogues that are written by the writers.
Correct. It's a brilliant insight, because what happens is when we try and look back at the plays which are like legendary in their own form, they are generally told by, say, Pula Deshpande or like people like these. So they have a different insight, and they would express everything about it. But we have never heard a layman narrating like how was the experience about the play. So it would be a different insight, because a layman would probably like 6 तासाचं नाटक आहे तर कदाचित झोपत पण असेल मध्ये. You never know. Brilliant. So, Nipun, I would like to change tracks here and get into the contemporary time. And on one hand, you have been working on this enriching experiences of theatre in Pune, and you have some sort of a satisfaction by doing theatre on an ongoing basis. On the other hand, you are reaching to a wider audience through the online media, through Bhadipa. So, I would like to know what are your new learnings, new challenges which are you're facing, and some more about Bhadipa.
I think as we evolve, the mediums also evolve. So web is this new medium that has come up, and I mean, right now I've just shifted to a new place, and I've opted not to take any TV connection. So I've just connected to the internet and whatever is available on the internet. So I think and people around me, I can see this change happening.
Correct.
So it was but natural that I try this medium as well. And this opportunity came as an actor this time, because while I'm working in theatre, while I'm thinking for films, somehow this requires a completely different mindset and a different acumen, which I think as a creative person I don't possess, very honestly. I can't think in terms of skits. I can't think in terms of web content or something that will go viral. I can probably tell a story and then decide whether I want to tell the story on the stage or on the screen. Having said this, Bhadipa was something that we started as an experiment. That actually Sarang Sathe, who was my first director, incidentally, in college, Paula Maglin, his partner, and Anusha Nandakumar. The three of them had started a production house, and they were working towards making films and ad films. And they hit upon this idea to start something like Bharatiya Digital Party with a few other friends, and which would generate premium quality Marathi digital content. And their first show they planned would be Casting Couch with Amey and Nipun. And that was because, as I mentioned before, Sarang was our first director, so he knew Amey and me very well. And he knew us mainly from the days wherein we were carefree and we were just, just some
Having fun,
guys in
yeah.
11th standard. So, yeah. And at that time, he would watch us how cool or not cool, how casual we were with talking with anyone, whatever their age might be, irrespective of whether there are super seniors, girls, boys, whoever it is. And people wouldn't mind that. I mean, it was borderline. Now I have to accept this. It was borderline rude, but everybody took it in good spirits. And I think this was his inspiration to start Casting Couch with Amey and Nipun, to try and get us in that element, which was pretty old and which we were out of. But so he's mainly responsible for that. And we put out the first video. Of course, it went pretty well. Radhika Apte is a very good friend. She's even better friends with Sarang. She's worked with him on a lot of plays with which they did at Asakta. And so eventually Radhika did the first episode. It garnered some good response. People at first weren't understanding what this actually is. As the episodes went by, people started understanding this format. A few of them were getting a few of the viewers were getting offended as how can you ask such questions or something like that, wherein they had to be answered saying that this is a format, the celebrities know this is going to happen, it is in a way scripted. I think a few of them are still grappling with it, the audience members, but you can't please everybody when you are in a creative field. Apart from that, I think one good thing that Bharatiya Digital Party is doing is that they are keeping up with the trends, which are changing almost every hour.
Correct.
And they are doing live shows now.
Getting the stand-up comedy.
They are doing Marathi stand-up, which is, I think, a very good thing, which we have not appreciated. I mean, what Pula Deshpande did was actually, in a way, a stand-up comedy, what he used to do. And people still enjoy that. But we just don't call it stand-up comedy. We call it, talks. Talks or whatever names that Pula has given. Vyakti Anivalli,
For that matter, Atre also did the same.
Atre also did the same. So I think there is a massive audience for that. The audience is already ready for it. It is now how you handle your content well. And at the same time, they are also coming up with good skits. They've started up with some series like Apल्या Bapacha Rasta, Apल्या Bapacha Hotel. So yeah, I think and now they've got a very a faithful fan base. They've got a good subscriber base.
Correct.
So it's pretty interesting.
And do you see, don't get me wrong, but but the depth in the content, right? When you do theater or when you are trying to do things which are much more engaging as opposed to like a 3-minute video, do you see any difference in the depth, your commitment levels, your learnings, your insights?
So
because frankly speaking, I've been following Bhadipa to a certain extent, and what I like is the contextualization into Marathi space and the honesty with which it is performed. But other than that, there is not really, like, if you see a TED talk or if you see like Pula Deshpande's comedy also,
right,
there's more enriching, right? As opposed to this. So are you trying to bring in that, or you want to keep that?
Now that is again something that is a little subjective. And firstly, also again we come back to the whole point of motive. So TED Talks is given with a completely different motive. It is technology, education and design. Am I right?
Yeah.
So their audience is completely different.
No, I was just giving an example in
Correct.
terms of the depth of content.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the depth of content, I think, I can, to be very honest, I can speak only about casting couch with Amir Nipun because that is something that I am directly involved in. When it comes to stand-up, it depends on that person, how he wants to write and what he wants to say. But having said this, I would still say that there are a few stand-up comics that that might offer some valuable insights and that might make you laugh while talking about the current political and social scenario. And I think we are yet to see that. But
too early to comment actually.
and at the same time, I would also say the times that we are living in right now, where people are getting offended so easily,
Correct.
might also be holding back a few people while making a comment on something. So I think with anything that comes with depth, comes with a comment on the society, is what I feel. And when you make a comment on the society, there is always going to be someone who gets offended. And when somebody gets offended these days, it's very easy to defame that person, to block whatever your career, in fact, even. So I think that might be one of the reasons why we are not yet outspoken. But I would really like that to change in the coming times, because we need to, as a society, be more open, be more open to the idea of coexisting and the basic idea of democracy, actually, that I have the right to say whatever I want. You may not agree with it, but still I have the right to say it.
I have a nice plug here. I've done a couple of interviews with Sarang Sathe also, Makarand Sathe also, and Sunil Shanbag, and it's more to do with dissent and voice and how do you raise your voice and stuff. So yeah.
Super.
Nipun, I would like to conclude with one last question. Like being recognized as an important figure, as a lot of people have trusted you in college times, and now we are looking up to good Marathi content and good content in general. What are your future plans with Marathi theatre or theatre in general in Pune? Just concluding thoughts, what you would like to share.
There are so many plans that I really need to sit and focus now on what I really want to do when it comes to theatre, and mainly amateur experimental theatre. I really don't like the terms experimental theatre and commercial theatre, because I have done rather a play from Natak Company, which is supposed to be an experimental theatre group, but that play just earns us a lot of money. So and I don't think it is experimental. So I just like to call it amateur and commercial, the intent. So where the intent is not earning money, we would say it's amateur theatre. But we do both professionally, amateur and commercial. So I would really like to do something with Natak Company now. And there are 2-3 ideas in mind that I would really like to work on. So after a point of time, I think when you gain a little bit of financial independence, I think financial independence comes with financial pressures as well. So I'm just waiting to free myself from that a little bit. And I've already committed to a few projects which I hope should be done by mid next year. So once that is done, I should be able to focus my attention on something for Natak Company. So, but at the same time, I've made sure that I've passed on the baton to younger team members who also want to do something new, and they are doing a damn fine job. I mean, this is the first time that we have won the Mahindra Excellence in Theatre Award for the best play, and that was done by an extremely young group. The average age of that group must be 20. So I'm very proud of them. And so one thing is developing Natak Company per se, and we already have a space of our own wherein we conduct our meetings and store our set. But I would like to develop one more space wherein we can just perform whatever we want to perform. Of course, that will take some time. At the same time, that is also being opposed by a few people because they don't feel it is something that we should do. As a group, our aim should not be to develop spaces, but to put up more plays. So that is something that is up for debate, and I think we can do both things.
Correct.
So it's just a matter of
Time
pushing ourselves and focusing on our activities. So that is one important thing that I want to do. And secondly, I would really like to do a musical that is original. So, and not a classic. So that is something that I'm looking forward to, especially after Dev Babri, which is doing so well. And not just doing so well, which is such a good play.
Correct. Yeah.
So these are the two things in theatre that I would like to do. And web series, I don't think much about it. Whatever comes my way, if I like it, I just do it. That is the only avenue right now wherein I can act. So, I mean, of course, I'm asked sometimes for films or something, but it's okay. I mean, in web series, I can be a little more relaxed than in films. Because it's mostly because of people who I usually work with. And when it comes to making films, I have a biopic in mind that I'm working on currently, which I should start shooting in the next 3 or 4 months, and I hope should release next year. So just a few projects that are happening right now.
Super. So all the best for your projects.
you.
And I think this is a good note to end this. Obviously, there are a lot of things to be spoken about, but given the time and
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks a lot once again for coming all the way from Pune and obviously giving your time here. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's it from today's Gyan session. Catch us on iTunes, Saavn, Stitcher or any podcasting app you use. Do rate us on iTunes and follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Stay tuned for more Gyan on audiogyan.com. Till then, bye.